The WilKoak, half man, half wolf, stalks the misty forests of medieval Podlasie under a ghostly moon. When the mists rolled in across the black pines and the air turned sharp with frost, the people of Podlasie bolted their doors and whispered prayers in the tongue of their grandmothers. For centuries, stories of the WilKoak prowled the land like a shadow, an ancient curse bound to the wild heart of the forest, where men could become wolves and wolves could wear the haunted eyes of men. Some said the curse was older than the village itself, born in the days when the world was young and boundaries between the living and the wild were still thin and restless. Others insisted it was the price of a forgotten sin, passed from father to son, mother to daughter, as invisible as breath but as real as the tracks left by claws in the morning snow. In Podlasie, fear did not come all at once but crept steadily, one missing lamb at a time, one howling night after another. People remembered the old rituals: iron nailed above doorframes, juniper burned in secret, honey and bread left on thresholds when the moon was fat and white. Still, the legends endured. On market days, the elders gathered around crackling hearths, spinning tales of men who vanished beneath the silver birches and returned with strange hunger in their eyes. They spoke of the WilKoak, half man, half wolf, doomed to stalk the woods in search of atonement or revenge. For every child born in the village, there was a story to warn them against wandering too far into the shadows. But stories, like curses, are never as simple as they seem. And in the year when the WilKoak returned, it was not just hunger that prowled the forests, but hope, vengeance, and a secret that could save or doom them all. The return of the curse. In the biting cold of early winter, the village of Dabrowa huddled under the shadow of the Beloisa forest. Smoke curled from thatched roofs, carrying with it the scents of peat and pine resin. Within those wooden cottages, stories of the WilKoak had grown into warnings, spoken softly over steaming bowls of zur and hard rye bread. To outsiders, these were only tales, but in Dabrowa, the line between myth and memory blurred. A bloodied paw print marks the snow, signaling the WilKoak's return to the village's edge. It began with a string of disappearances. First, the young shepherd's dog, then 2 lambs from old Peter's flock. On the third night, when the moon was swollen and cold, screams shattered the silence. The villagers rushed to the edge of the forest, torches wavering in trembling hands. There, under the ancient oaks, they found only the blood-spattered snow and a single, enormous paw print, too large for any wolf. Peter spat and muttered an old prayer. The elders exchanged fearful glances. The WilKoak had returned. The curse, according to legend, struck those with restless souls or heavy guilt. No one knew who among them might bear such a burden, but suspicion grew like mold in the dark. Every howl in the distance made children whimper and mothers clutch amulets of rowan and silver. The church filled to bursting, yet the sense of doom lingered. Only one in Dabrowa seemed unmoved by the growing fear: Kasia, the village's young healer. With hair the color of burnt wheat and eyes green as new moss, she was known for her stubbornness and compassion. Kasia believed in herbs and reason, not old wives' tales. Yet even she felt the forest watching her as she gathered yarrow and wild garlic at dusk. One evening, Kasia found herself drawn to a clearing where the fog lay thickest. She knelt by a patch of wolfsbane, its purple blossoms shivering in the wind. As she reached out, a guttural growl froze her blood. Between the trees, 2 amber eyes glinted, a massive, shadowy figure hunched beneath the branches. Her breath caught. The creature stared at her, its gaze both pleading and fierce. Then, just as suddenly, it melted into the trees, leaving only broken branches and deep gouges in the earth. Kasia trembled all the way home, clutching her basket tight. That night, as she lay awake, she wondered if the WilKoak was truly a beast, or something trapped inside a nightmare it couldn't escape. The outcast's secret. The WilKoak's shadow loomed ever larger over Dabrowa. Each evening, villagers fortified their homes with iron and prayers, but fear gnawed at their hearts. The local priest, Father Mihal, preached of penance and faith, yet he too flinched at every wolf's howl. Children no longer played beyond the fields, and even grown men hesitated to fetch water from the river after sunset. Jakub, suspected of being the WilKoak, seeks shelter and healing from Kasia during a storm. Rumors began to swirl around a solitary figure, Jakub, the miller's bastard son. Tall and gaunt, with a tangled beard and scars tracing his weather-beaten face, Jakub was known more for his silence than any wrongdoing. He lived at the edge of the village in a shack patched with moss and lichen, earning his keep by mending fences and trapping rabbits. To the superstitious, his solitude and uncanny way with animals marked him as suspect. Some whispered that he spoke to wolves, that he'd been cursed by a wronged witch or spurned by his father's kin. Kasha, however, saw something different when she brought him herbs for his aching leg. In his eyes lingered sorrow, not malice. Yet even she could not ignore how he seemed to vanish for days at a time, returning with clothes torn and eyes rimmed with exhaustion. One stormy night, as sleet battered the shutters, Kasha heard frantic knocking at her door. She opened it to find Yakub, drenched and shivering, blood oozing from gashes on his arms. His eyes were wild, and his voice came in a ragged whisper, "Help me, before it's too late." Without hesitation, Kasha pulled him inside, cleaning his wounds and bundling him in woolen blankets. By firelight, Yakub confessed, he could remember nothing of his nights beneath the full moon, only flashes of hunger and running beneath the trees. "There's a darkness inside me," he said. "I fear I am the WilKoak." Cassia's heart pounded. She'd heard tales of werewolves, men cursed for crimes or misdeeds, condemned to roam as beasts until forgiveness was won. But Yakub, she believed, was not evil. She resolved to uncover the truth behind his curse and save him from the fate that had haunted Podlasie for generations.